Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Photoshop Elements Tutorials Group. And let's jump right into today's poster. Who was asking for a three-dimensional look for this photo, and basically what we want to do is work with gradations of blurriness, and we use Gaussian blur for this effect. And basically look at the photo. It already has actually some of that effect naturally from a long lens of a camera. You can see how it's sharper on the edges here, and as we zoom in you can see it's blurry. In this particular photo it's kind of pixelated because the photo is not the best quality. It's a low resolution. We're just going to show you how to exaggerate that blur to make it look more three-dimensional. So first we want to study the photo and look at what parts are on the front, which is like these branches, and then this tree is a little bit further behind, but beyond that these leaves are from the tree behind way back here, so we want that to be more blurry and all this in here to be more blurry as it goes further to the back. Pretty much kind of the way it is, but we're just going to exaggerate a little more to give it that 3D effect. So let's go ahead and duplicate this layer. I'm going to duplicate it, let's say 3 times. So I'll right click and duplicate layer. So now we got 3 versions, and basically what we're going to do is have the top layer be the front layer, the medium layer be the middle area layer, and then the bottom layer be the very end there that should be the most blurry. So I'm going to turn off the other 2 and work on this top layer only. This top layer should be the most foreground leaves that you see. I'm going to use the eraser, and I'm going to grab a small 150 point right there, and that's going to be small enough for me to erase everything that I don't want to be sharp. I'm just going to cut out the foreground that I want to keep the sharpest, and I'm sort of cutting along lines that I can easily use those lines as the differentiating between each layer. So I'm going to cut along this tree, these branches around here. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could go in there and use like the polygon tool and have these edges really sharp, but in this case I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. And then I can take the polygon tool and just cut out everything I don't want. I double click, I hit delete, and it gets rid of that section. We can do the same thing for the center section and delete. So now we got what we want as our foreground. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect, and that's our major foreground area. Now I'm going to turn on the next layer, which is supposed to be a little bit blurrier. So I'll turn this layer on. See, I'm toggling it back and forth. When I click and choose it, I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And as you can see at 25 pixels, that's way too much, but you get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this bar here, and I can bring it up higher, and I can bring it down lower. We want a very, very subtle amount of difference, like let's say a 3.0. And now you can see that second layer is more blurry than the foreground. I'm going to toggle that back and forth, and you can totally notice the difference, and it really pops out this front end being nice and sharp. And now we can do the same thing with the very lowest layer. So what we're going to do is take that second layer, take the eraser again, and just erase out the part that at a 100-point eraser that we want to be really blurry, which is going to be around here. Just that really bottom little edge down here. That's all we need for the finale, and I can go ahead and just erase that out. And all we got to do is turn that bottom layer on, which is going to fill that back in, but we choose it, go to Filter, go to Blur, go to Gaussian Blur, and once again it pops in at way too high. So we're going to bring that down to something a little more realistic, up to about 3.0 again. And I can toggle that back and forth. See that? It's like super blurry. I'm going to hit OK. And there you go. We have a much more three-dimensional looking image here. And if you really want to, we can always add a layer, bring that to the very, very top. And I'm going to do really subtle black in the center. I pick black and make a large brush, like a large 2,000 point brush. I'm going to just put a single dot here and bring it down just 1 pixel. And I'll just bring it up just a tiny bit to darken that center, like, I don't know, about 30%. And if you really want, I could bring this darkened piece here between the first and the second layer. So if I go bring it down here to this point, and now it really starts to darken the center without touching the top at all. And there you go. This is it. For this tutorial, this is Rich calling it quits, saying over and out.